I was visualizing money in my bank account. I was visualizing a brand new luxury office. I was visualizing clients. So it's all about visualize your end goal. Don't think about the way. Think and visualize the end goal. Welcome to Rafael Montua's awesome podcast. Get ready to embark on an exhilarating adventure where we uncover the secrets to success in life, business, marketing, artificial intelligence, and the amazing world of real estate.
What does taking risk means for you?
Woo. Anything. Anything that pretty much takes a person out of his comfort zone, it means taking risk. Anything. I don't know, you're looking to move to a new place, taking a risk, new place. You're looking to open a new business, taking a risk, new business. You need to get a mortgage on your house, taking a risk, because you gotta make sure you're gonna have that money in order to pay the mortgage on time. You're taking a student loan, and you need to go to school for 4 years to 8 years sometimes, depends on your degree, and then you're taking a risk because you're going to school, you're taking a student loan, and then you have to pay that student loan back, and you have to spend, some people say waste, 4 to 8 years of your life. Depends on the person, right? Some people say going to school is amazing, some people say going to school is a waste of time. Need to find the balance, but anything new that takes you out of the comfort zone.
Okay, so talking about risks and being an entrepreneur, you as an entrepreneur with your experience, what is the biggest risk you have taken so far in your career?
Woo. Every time you ask me questions, like my mind is gonna boom. Okay, there is not really like big risk or small risk. I think it's the more like significant risk that impacted me a lot in my life, and definitely the risk of leaving my home birth where I was born. I was born in Jerusalem, in Israel, and right finishing the army, I moved to the United States. So definitely going to the United States all by myself with $500 in my pocket, literally that was the risk of my life, because I had
a big shift, a big change.
Exactly. I had no language, I had no friends, I had no family, and I had no money. I had $500 in my pocket. That exactly about a week later, I left with $100 in my pocket because I had to pay for food and hotels, etc. And then I had $100 left in my pocket. Yeah, it was crazy because I remember thinking, well, I have a flight ticket that leaves in a week, because when I moved to the States, the flight ticket was good for 2 weeks. And I thought, I have 2 weeks to make it happen. If it didn't happen in 2 weeks, I'm moving back home. And after a week, I was short $400 and I had $100 to my pocket. So what I did, I saved the money. I saved as much possible, and I ate in the $1 menu in McDonald's, and Carl's Jr. was my favorite back then. Today I'm a semi-kosher, I would say, but back then, you know, I had to eat what I had to eat. And I remember that big hamburger with guacamole for $1. I had it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with French fries and sometimes Coke. Most of the time it was water, because water was free. And I thought to myself, I have $100 to my name. It's either I spend it in hotels or either I have food for the next week. So I saved it for food. And I end up actually sleeping on the street, on a bench in the valley, Los Angeles, between Sepulveda to Van Nuys. I'm not gonna forget the names of those streets, and I'm never gonna forget that moment. I literally bought myself a knife from the dollar store, and I put it right here underneath my coat, just in case somebody will try to mess with me, because I look like a rich homeless, I would say. I had this beautiful coat that I just bought from Israel. It was like Castro, all feather coat, and it was really, really nice. And I had a suitcase with me and a backpack. And so many, I mean, Sepulveda is a really dangerous street, by the way. In the valley, you ask anybody, Sepulveda is a dangerous street, but I managed. I mean, I think I made so many phone calls. Another reason why I like that bench, it was right by a payphone. And because I was consistently asking people on the newspaper, like if they have a job for me, and I didn't have a cell phone. Cell phone was barely exist back then. We're talking about 2003. There is no cell phones almost. There is only newspaper, barely internet. I mean, if I would move with the day of today, I would definitely do different decisions and it would be much easier, especially with my knowledge of today. But that's a memory that it's in my brain and I take it with me always.
So you actually went for the American dream. That was the dream you were following and that was what you want to achieve by taking the risk.
Exactly. I mean, I followed the American dream. If you would tell me going to follow the American dream is sleeping on a bench in Sepulveda, I would say, But because I actually lived it and I was that low, I thought to myself, anything that is going to happen in my life moving forward could not be that low. And actually, that point was, I had a few low points in my life financial wise, but that point was the most struggling point in my life. I was 21 years old, I had no family, I had no language, I had no money, and I was sleeping on the streets. And you know what? When I moved back to Israel years later and I saw my family, I have a pretty good family. Like everybody would help me. Like all I had to do,
big family too.
Yeah, big family. All I had to do is like reach out to help. If it's my aunts, if it's my parents, my brothers, my cousins, I would just ask for help. But you know what I had? Too much pride, too much pride, too much ego. I could not go and say, can you help me? Because when I left Israel, my nose was like up here. I was like, I am going no matter what. And I did not care about anything.
Is that a good combination, being proud of yourself and taking risks?
I actually think that if you're taking risks and if there is help out there, take the pride down. Take the pride down because it could delay what you're trying to achieve. I mean, sometimes the thing is, sometimes we don't learn until we actually experience it ourselves. And that's happening to a lot of us, and I still live in it. And I see my little brother is going through the same challenges. I keep trying to tell him things and advise him, and he doesn't listen. He's like, until you don't try it, you don't know what comes ahead of it. And that's why sometimes you go to school, you go to business school for 8 years, and then you finish, but you didn't really had any experience. You just learned for 8 years. Now you need a few years of experience. And I think by taking the leap of faith, going to the United States early, just doing my thing, definitely brought me a lot of experience that during the years, I definitely, I was able to use my experience for the best.
And in early ages, I'm assuming.
Yeah, very, very early age. I mean, if you look at it, I opened my very first business at 23 years old. And pretty much almost about 2 years after I moved to the United States, I opened my very first business. Of course, during those 2 years, there was many things that happened. How did I achieve opening my own business? I was at a point of low, almost $100, working in a moving company, working in construction, crawling underneath houses in Los Angeles, working for like $5, $6, $7 an hour, proving myself to all my bosses that I worked in. I think the most job in the very beginning I connected to was moving. I was like a foreman in a moving company that allowed me to earn a lot of money. Especially at the beginning, after I went through a very difficult challenges of deportation. I almost got deported from the United States. And then I've worked on my papers non-stop, went through 3 courts, and then eventually I received my green card, and then I got my citizenship. So, amazing America, from being deported to having your citizenship. God bless America.
Good. You have to be a risk taker when it comes to being an entrepreneur.
Being an entrepreneur is definitely being a risk taker, because you have to get out of your comfort zone over and over again. And not only your comfort zone, you have to fight with those voices that you have in your head constantly. Those voices are always there no matter what. So yes, absolutely. Entrepreneurs and risks goes together. Looking on the transactions that I've done, at 23, I own my own business. I took a risk of taking that business, because the way I achieved being in that business, I had a really good job. I was making great money. I was making maybe like $10,000 every month out of my current job. And then my boss come to me and say, well, I want to tell you, Rafael, that I really admire your dedication to my company, because I was working for 2 weeks straight with tonsils infection. And I told him, look, Eric, I have to go back to the hospital. I need to take care. He's like, Rafael, just take 1 more week. You have to finish the trip for me, because I was driving a truck from Miami to Maine, and I had to bring the truck back. And that time I was living in Atlanta, and I finished the trip, and after 1 week with my tonsils, it was swallow. I got fever to Fahrenheit wise, we're talking about maybe like 104, 105. I got dropped out in Atlanta, and right away I went to the hospital and I did my tonsil surgery. After 2 weeks, my boss Eric invited me to Miami, and then he decided to invest in me. He gave me 2 open checks, and he said, you have up to $40,000 to take this and invest on a new business. It's a risk, because coming to somebody and taking his money, you're risking his money. It's not, some people say, I'm going to risk other people's money, but no. I take very, very personally of risking somebody else's money, because he trusted in me. So I need to provide him with an outcome. I need to give him a value. How do I give him more value with that? So I took the money. I did not invest at $40,000. I invested $20,000, and I made a very, very successful business. I gave him his investment back, and I even left with more profit right after that.
So you said it is important to be a risk taker, being an entrepreneur. Some people might hesitate about taking risks due to fear or failure. What can you advise to these aspiring entrepreneurs that are hesitating about taking risks because they're feared?
Amazing question. So the way I do it is I never think about the steps that I need to do in order to reach to the final goal. Because if you think about building a business, and you need to say, yes, you definitely need to have a business plan. Absolutely. Have a business plan written. But if you're going to start thinking about every single step, if I need to do the licensing, so I need to spend a whole day in the licensing department to get the license for that. That takes so long. And if I need to make this manufacturing, it's going to take me, that takes so long. So the very, very important, don't think about the steps of what you need to do to achieve to the goal. Just visualize that you already made it. So right now we are sitting in one of our listings. It's a brand new listing that we are taking. It's a really, really big project. It's a project that we are going to offer for $12 million, include 5 houses, apartments, properties, amazing ocean view. And whenever I started this business, I did not thought about, I need to go to meet with this guy. I need to go meet with this guy. I was visualizing how I'm taking listings with ocean views. I was visualizing how I get to the moment and the situation that I'm at. I was visualizing money in my bank account. I was visualizing a brand new luxury office. I was visualizing clients. So it's all about visualize your end goal. Don't think about the way. Think and visualize the end goal.
Okay.
Think like you already made it happen. Avoid the little small voices that tells you you don't gonna have it. Avoid those voices. Focus on the main goal. Focus on the target. That's what my recommendation will be to the new entrepreneurs and to any entrepreneurs out there.